A new nightmare is finally upon us. Who should play Freddy Krueger? Well, let's talk a little bit about it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I want to be a fighter, like you.
Oh, let it burn! Let it burn!
Did you miss me?
You have to shoot them in the head. They always come back.
The boat can leave now. Tell the crew.
But sometimes that is better.
Good luck.
42 years later, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Wes Craven original, is still one of the all-time greatest horror films. Embodying 80s horror with every fabric of its being, Nightmare on Elm Street is the spitting image of what horror was all about back then. Its goofy campiness is cut with surreal kills of blood geysers and impossible horrors. The situation presented of not being able to sleep without a knife-fingered former serial killer coming after you in your dreams is a genuinely fascinating concept to explore. Freddy Krueger is both charismatic and menacing, making him the perfect ambassador of the genre at the time. While the sequels may be hit or miss, I think that the original classic is just slasher sensation from start to finish. Now, it was just announced by THR First that Paramount is working on a brand new reboot of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. After a 16-year-long wait, I wish it wasn't coming from the studio that is trying so hard to become a monopoly right now, but I am still very excited for some more Freddy. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, Jake, why didn't this happen sooner? Freddy Krueger is one of the most beloved and popular horror icons of all time. How does he not have a new movie in this new renaissance of horror that we're currently in the midst of? Well, it's a very good question with a slightly complicated answer. After the 2010 remake was received poorly by critics but pulled in a massive box office haul, the franchise laid in a quiet limbo for a few years. It's crazy to think that in today's studio world, making $117 million against a $35 million budget, especially in a very popular horror franchise like A Nightmare on Elm Street, would probably give you enough leeway to greenlight a sequel despite what the critics thought of it. I guess those negative reviews really scared the studio out of doing any more with this concept for a little while. It took until 2015 for reports to come out that David Leslie Johnson, the writer of the 2009 horror flick Orphan, had penned a script for a new remake that likely would have moved away from the events of the 2010 film. A year later, however, producer Brad Fuller said that that project was in development hell and we never really heard anything else about it. Then in 2019, things got really interesting as the rights to the original screenplay reverted back to the Wes Craven estate, who sadly had passed away by that time. It's basically the same exact situation with what happened with Victor Miller. After 35 years, he regained the rights to his original screenplay. Same thing happened with Wes Craven's estate here, regaining the copyright to that original screenplay. Therefore, the Craven estate basically owned the rights to the franchise. What makes this weird is that Warner Bros. Actually retained the international distribution rights to the franchise, meaning that no one could just greenlight a sequel because the rights were all over the place. Again, very similar to the whole Friday the 13th court case that has now kind of been resolved. Kind of. To sum up the boring legal part of today's video quickly, Paramount has struck up a deal with the Craven estate, the house that Freddy built, New Line, and Warner Bros. To produce a brand new movie in the franchise. Something else that I do think is interesting about this, though, is that it's coming from a brand new division of Paramount called Paramount Primal, which seems to be focusing on horror movies based on that Primal subtitle. That's always something really exciting for the genre. That just typically means more horror movies are going to be produced. Can't argue with that. Okay, now that we've gotten through the big update, we can finally get into the sweet squishy center of today's update, which is of course talking about who could play Freddy Krueger in the new movie. That has and still is to this day the biggest question revolving around the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise after all. Robert Englund, the lovely man who played the original Man of Your Dreams, has been saying for over a decade now that he's, and I quote, too old and thick to get into all that makeup again. So sadly, I think his time of playing the Dream Demon is over. Listen, I am all about a new Nightmare on Elm Street film, but this entire flick hinges on casting the right person to play Freddy Krueger, or else it's gonna fall flat. Robert Englund's performances in some of those crappy sequels are the only thing that makes some of them worth watching. Now, interestingly enough, Robert Englund himself has a few people in mind to play the part. Most recently, as he was accepting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Robert Englund said that Kevin Bacon or Jim Carrey would be great fits for the role. Both of these actors have the comedic and sinister abilities to play the part, and I wouldn't be against these casting choices at all. Now, while I am so down down for Kevin Bacon to do it, Jim Carrey is an especially interesting choice right now based on some recent updates. Carrey is currently in talks to star in a How the Grinch Stole Christmas sequel over at Universal. This might seem like a non sequitur, but Jim has stated many times that he doesn't really want to do any other projects where he has to wear a heavy costume that takes hours to put on, like the one he wears in the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas. If he's willing to do that sequel for Universal, who's to say he wouldn't put on some Freddy Krueger makeup, where he would also have significantly less screen time than something like The Grinch. Go back and watch those Nightmare on Elm Street movies, man. Freddy Krueger really isn't in them that much, but those are also the best parts. Now, I have heard some great casting choices from all of you over the years, whether that be on live streams or in the comments of some of these videos. Some horror fans have thrown out character actor names like Richard Brake, or giving Jackie Earle Haley a second chance because he was good in that movie. It just had a bad script and a director who didn't know what he was doing. Oh my God, he's so good in that movie. Please give us another Nightmare with Jackie Earle Haley. Sorry, gotta compose myself here for a second. But my possibly controversial and personal choice would be Glenn Howerton from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Howerton might be recognizable to horror fans for getting his head blown off in The Strangers or playing a total dick in 2020's The Hunt, but he's best known as Dennis Reynolds on the FX show. The whole joke with Dennis is that he's basically a sociopath that has a hard time relating to his other friends. To anyone out there who has watched the show, you're likely familiar with the implication and why he wants to buy a boat. Or maybe you've seen his whole rant about being a golden god, where it looks like his neck veins are gonna just pop right out of his skin.
The Golden God! I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds!
You're telling me that guy wouldn't give us a great new take on Freddy Krueger? Something I think we can all agree on, though, is that the best way to cast Freddy Krueger is to do it the same way that they did all the way back in 1984, with a tedious casting process that goes through many different kinds of people. All sorts of different actors were supposed to play Freddy Krueger before Robert Englund even signed on, most notably Kane Hodder. Robert Englund, however, mostly had bit parts in schlocky movies like the underrated Eaten Alive, Tobe Hooper's follow-up to TCM, and the Alien miniseries V in 1983. I think Robert was cast perfectly to play Freddy Krueger because he had been in so many other schlocky B movies that still had a bit of an edge to them. He understood the tone that Wes Craven was going for, but still added some playfulness to it. Had they cast somebody like Kane Hodder, it might have been too menacing and didn't find that perfect balance that Robert Englund is able to strike. I think the point to be made with all of this is that casting Freddy Krueger, we gotta find somebody who has been like in bit parts in other horror movies, but still understands how to do dark humor. You know, like Glenn Howerton.
Are you gonna hurt women? I'm not gonna hurt these women. Okay. Why would I ever hurt these women? I feel like you're not getting this at all.
I'm not getting it.
Okay, so real quick, before we wrap up today's video, you might have noticed that sign over there. It was supposed to be Evil Dead Week, but then two of the craziest news stories of the entire year dropped yesterday. A new Nightmare on Elm Street movie is happening, and the Crystal Lake trailer came out. I can't possibly keep up with all of that. That's insanity. So we are still doing some Evil Dead videos this week. I promise we're getting to them, but Freddy and Jason take priority. I don't know what to tell you. And hey, if it makes you feel any better, in the 9th entry of the Friday the 13th series, technically it's revealed that the Necronomicon, Freddy Krueger, and Jason Voorhees all exist in the same universe. So technically, this is an Evil Dead video. Seriously though, we'll be ranking all 6 of those movies, as well as talking about the future of the Evil Dead series later on this week. Before we wrap up today's video, please make sure to like it and subscribe to this page for more updates on the most exciting horror projects. Also, the best way to support this channel is by becoming a patron on Patreon. Over there, you can find a ton of bonus content like reactions to various horror TV shows and movies. We're currently watching Dexter and Hannibal, with multiple episodes going up there a week. No, what? Check it out by clicking on the link in the description below. One final plug and I'll shut the heck up. Please make sure to also check out my film channel, Human Egg Productions, where we're currently posting horror and comedy short films. If you like slashers especially, check out the gory short I wrote and directed called Chicken Man. Thank you to everyone who supports all of my pages. What do you guys think about a brand new Nightmare on Elm Street film? What do you want the plot to be about? Because we don't really know anything about that as of right now. Who do you want to play Freddy Krueger? Should Heather Langenkamp come back? If the answer to that last question isn't yes, you're banned for eternity. Leave me all of your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this update video. Please subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.